Real official. Real official, as official as it gets, y'all. Yeah, I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that soundtrack real quick. Let's get a little something from Al real quick. Tell us the name of this song.
Oh shit!
Oh, I know this song.
Yeah, the song right here is called Harmony, produced by the boy Jay Sauna out of Santa Clara.
I like this music video.
Yeah. Hear no echo off no wall though, this shit ain't hollow. Call me some amigos and I make sure they all know. If you ever need me, I'm just a call though. My cousins, my loved ones, my hundreds of follows. It don't mean anything if we can't come to an agreement. It's time to level up and get the ghetto a little greener. I'm talking little things like planting seeds and litter cleanups. I don't wanna preach, I don't claim to be a genius. When I let my hair bang, they say I look like Jesus. When I let my nuts hang, that's when I feel the freest. Way I built my city up, I feel like IKEA. They want to cut me out the pick, I got no idea. This for my teachers, my students, my peers. My beehive in the garden I've been building for years. With this queen of mine, honey, I'm blessed. Been busting response.
Yeah,
That's Al right there, y'all.
that was the first joint I wrote when COVID started.
Oh shit.
That was like my first I got time.
Yeah.
Let me write something.
Yeah, we had a lot of time.
Yeah.
Hey man, well shit, first and foremost, it ain't exclusive. If it ain't an EMLN exclusive, it's your boy BQ, right here in the heart of Silicon Valley, right here in downtown San Jose, right off Sofa District at EMLN Labs, as y'all know best. And we are in for a very special interview, y'all. This has been long overdue with my good friend Al ThatFool. Al.
Yeah, say that.
Did I say it right? I said Al ThatFool Al.
ThatFool
I said
Al.
your name twice, but
It's all good.
hey, I just had to give you a nice warm introduction. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate
I wanted
that.
you to feel very welcome on the podcast set. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long time since we've known each other, actually. You know what I'm saying?
I feel at home.
It's like
Yeah,
we
I feel good. You mind if I take my shoes off?
I do mind. Nah, just like go ahead, bro. I ain't give a
I'm
fuck.
good. I showered
Whatever
like,
makes
like
you
an
feel.
hour ago.
As long as you don't got sticky feet, bro. You know what I'm
good,
saying? I
man.
hate people that they're like, hey, can I take my shoes off? Their shit stinking.
Yeah.
I've
Let
had
me
people
let me
come-
get comfortable.
I had people come to my house, take their shoes. I said, bro, put that shit
Now
back
put
on.
them shits back on.
No, I'm fucking around. But yeah, man. So for the ones that don't know, my good friend Al here is a musical artist based in San Jose, California. Born and raised in West San Jose, or
All over.
All
really.
over, huh?
Yeah, I spent the majority of my once I was conscious of where I was
Yeah.
at, I was on the west side. But
yes,
yeah,
sir.
before that, I was on the east and kind of all over. Yeah.
And this individual also, serves the community in multiple ways. From litter pickups, just like he said in the song, from being a teacher, a servant in the community. We appreciate your work, man. That's really how I got connected with you in the first place.
Real.
Was doing community work, and
That's right.
and then just supporting.
Was that before COVID?
That was like right before COVID, yeah.
Like the year before, like going into it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like literally going into it. Yeah, we did.
We met on some let's do some clothing giveaways. Let's do some
Yeah.
food giveaways.
Yeah.
That's literally how we started working. That's dope.
Yeah, Low Colors, when they had the Keystone location, they were, I don't know who arranged it. I don't know if it was you or whoever was doing it. They just got the location to get donations, like clothes, all sizes.
I had a hand in it. I don't remember. It was me and like a couple of the artists at Local Color, and then I don't know how you got into the fold.
I don't know either. I just insert myself everywhere, bro.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
like,
tight.
hey, how can I help? I'm here now. You know what I'm saying?
No, that
Like,
was big. That was big.
So, but yeah, stuff like that though. Now look at us. We've worked together with Culture Night Market. I've helped
Yeah.
you out with musical stuff.
Mhm.
You've connected me with a lot of artists in San Jose and beyond. I've met artists through you through the whole last 2 years, bro. So I'm very thankful for those
It's probably been
those
3 years
connections.
now.
Yeah, no, it's been 3 years. It's going on 3 years. Yeah.
My first event with you was one of the first night markets right here in this parking lot.
Yep.
And since then, I could say that some of my proudest stuff in the city, or just as an artist, as an organizer, has been the fact that through Culture Night Market, I have a hand in probably, I lost count, but I want to say booking close to 100 acts.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like, how many events have you guys done?
It's almost 100. I would say.
How many events though?
Almost 100, I think.
100 events?
It might be more.
No.
I think it's
For
almost,
real?
I think it's almost 100.
God,
because we
damn.
did 70 last time I checked.
Swear, that's crazy.
It's probably 80 now, actually. now that I think
80.
about it.
I've probably had a hand in like 80% of the events,
Yeah.
maybe not all of
Mhm.
them. And in those, we've booked 3 to 5 to 8 acts every time, like, 5+ acts every time, like that adds
easily
up.
Yeah,
That's dope, bro. And like, I had to book myself a couple times.
of course,
and
man.
do
Shit,
that,
we
but
need a little love from Al.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
it ain't right.
It's been dope. Honestly, it gave me a cool little opportunity to run some plays because I was able to book some artists from out of town.
Yeah,
And be like, hey, I got a spot for you.
Yeah.
When it comes back around in your city, let me know. Reciprocate that love. So I've been able to run some plays where I was able to get myself out of town and connect with some other networks by opening the door for those artists out here. So
that's big. That's
cool.
big organic love right there.
And that's
man.
how you do it. You can't just everything can't be a what do they call it? Everything's got to be open ended.
Yeah.
Like this conversation, it can't just be yes or no questions.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have a chance to book artists, it's not just a one-time thing. It's like open the door, and now how can we, help each other grow?
Continuously build. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you need? What you got going outside of the music?
Yeah.
Because what's been dope is to see a lot of yourself and myself, a lot of creatives around here are not just musicians or just artists. We got a lot going on. We got nonprofits that we start. We got, careers, 9 to 5s, like all types of shit, so it's cool to braid it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I think I can hear better without these motherfuckers on right now. I'm gonna just take
You talk me into wearing.
Nah, I know, but I feel like my shit's hella low. Can you turn it up a little bit? I feel like my shit, I have to really listen to that shit. I'm like, hold on. My bad. Sorry, y'all. We had to make sure this is done right.
Well, we could cut that out, right?
No, it's good. We gonna leave it in there, man, because we wanna know this motherfucker real.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ain't no bullshit going on here.
Don't panic. It's organic.
Exactly. We're so I wanna, obviously we have our history. There's so many directions we could go because I'm thinking about 3 years ago, I'm thinking 2 years ago, even this year, there's just been a lot of adventures and experiences we've had with each other.
We've been talking about doing this podcast since
for
before you started a podcast.
For a minute, long time. When it was the EMLN Podcast, when it was the Low Key Facts Podcast, when it was the Art of Vision Podcast, I'm like, shit, bro. You know how it goes as a creative. We always evolve, we always change things. But yes, we have spoke about it for a long time. But I think it was meant to be now because there's so much information that we can give the viewers and the listeners now because we have experience working with each other. We've both grown as individuals and we've experienced our own trials and tribulations. So I think there's a lot of value in this conversation. But before I start going into all of those, stories and stuff, I do want to give yourself an opportunity to kind of give the listeners that, don't know who you are. Maybe this is the first time they've came across you or heard about you. What would you, tell someone that asks, who you are? How would you explain it to them?
Yeah. Well, shoot. Thank you for
of course
for giving me the platform. Honestly, it's a day-to-day thing. I feel like whatever I'm into at the time, that's usually what I'll lead with, right? So right now, what I'm into is getting back into the music. So this month, July just started. This might come out at the end of the month, but this month I got a bunch of studio time booked. And I got a bunch of music that's just been waiting to get recorded. So that'll basically be my next album. So I'm really about to get into that mode, studio time. And then, I'm a middle school teacher, counselor, youth mentor. And right now it's summer break. So what I'm focusing on is working out with some of my student athletes. So a couple times a week, I'll go to the school, open up the gym, and just get open gym runs, get some basketball training going, because I'm really excited about my youth basketball team because I'm going into my 3rd year with them.
Nice.
And we started out, they were 6th graders and they never played before. I got a bunch of kids who half the team was born in different countries, never don't have a lot of resources at home. And I was raised on the football field and baseball field and sports teams and with good coaches as father figures and all that. So I know how valuable that is. And just to see the growth from 6th grade, the team, we didn't win one game in the whole year from JV and varsity. And then this past year, we won a couple games, went to the playoffs, got a playoff win, got knocked out in the 2nd round by the team that won the championship. And then a couple of days after we got knocked out, it was a championship game. I loaded half the team in the car. We drove to the game with the jackets on, sat in the crowd and watched the game. I'm like, we're gonna be here next year.
Yeah.
So we planted that seed, and then we were able to get in Seven Trees Community Center League, like a spring ball league, and we just finished that up. Went to the playoffs. I think we lost to the team that won the chip too in that league. But we're returning like 10 eighth graders next year. So honestly, it might sound funny, but that's like what I'm on right now. I'm hyped for these kids. I got like some homies that I grew up with. It's a cool little like full circle thing because I didn't play basketball past middle school.
Yeah.
I was more focused on football and baseball, but in middle school, I was on a basketball team with my boy Zach Stevenson, who went on to be like a dope player in high school and played some college ball and stuff. And now he's a personal trainer here in the Valley, and he trains a lot of like the Catholic, like the private school kids and all that. And he's opened up his doors to help train some of my players. So it's like this full circle. Like I grew up with dude, and then like 20 years later, now he's helping me with the middle school team again. And like it's just just different networking, different stuff like that. So I'm hyped for the basketball team right now.
Hey, that's fun though, man.
Hella other stuff, music, organizing, all that, but really, like studio time, basketball time.
So those are the two ones right now, keeping your mind
and
occupied.
then I think this is a cool time, like you said, for the conversation too, because I've been kind of out the way the last, few weeks, couple months, and haven't been too active with like what you got going on and Culture Night Market and everything. So it's a good opportunity for us to just catch up
for sure
on camera, on mic, and just keep it real.
Well, first and foremost, big empowerment to the youth. I think that's big. You know what I'm saying? I think that's important.
Can I plug something real quick?
Of course, always. Hard Workers Union.
The Hard Workers Union.
You don't know, now you know.
It's a non. I don't even know what to call it. It's not really a nonprofit. We have a fiscal sponsor.
Yeah.
So it's like just a little, little LLC, little youth group that we're starting, and we basically started it. The homie Theo, actually, who's doing some of the artwork for us for the night market. He designed this logo with some of my inspiration, some of my guidance, designed a really dope logo. We just started selling merch and sweaters and hats and stickers and stuff with the logo on it.
Yeah.
And, we didn't set out to start a brand, but like a lot of brands, like streetwear, clothing brands, they're really trying to build a story behind the brand to sell the brand. Because a t-shirt's a t-shirt, but you got to have a story behind it, right?
Yeah.
But what we're doing is like we had the story first, and it's a real thing. It's a cause that people are really down to get behind. So, like a $20 t-shirt will turn into like a $200 donation just because they want to see what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's it. It's not really a brand, but it's just like a way for us to like get in some donations. And last year, like with the basketball team, I was able to raise enough money to get some dope team jackets. And like this year, we're gonna try to get some new uniforms and all that. But we started my boy Lakshman Drevis, who's he drums with me when I do my music thing, and he's got me into so much dope stuff that we could get into as the conversation unfolds. But him and I started this together, and we've gotten a little bit of funding, and now we're really trying to run some youth camps and a lot of like nature immersion, like outdoor stuff, because the whole idea started right when COVID popped off and the school shut down. There were still a couple months left in that school year.
Yeah.
And our school shut down. Everything was remote. But then my boy and I had a classroom open on campus for kids who didn't have access to internet or computers or anything like that, and it turned into like a little safe haven, like for some kids who didn't have places to get food, didn't have places to get all their needs met. And so we had our classroom open never took a day off of the whole pandemic. And the zip code that we're in too is like what they said was like the hardest hit zip code in the whole county for COVID. So we were staying prayed up, staying hydrated, staying on the vitamins and all that, keeping it solid, and thank the creator. We stayed healthy and was able to provide for a bunch of youth. But that whole moment really inspired us to like, man, let's get some kids off these computers. Let's get some kids outdoors. Let's get some kids from the city out into the mountains. Let's teach them about their health, their well-being, their mental health, and it kind of just has snowballed into like something bigger than what we imagined. And this next year, I'm actually looking to acquire a vehicle, you know, get a van going and be able to like, you know, take
anywhere.
really scale up the work that we do as far as like you said, like the litter cleanups, the community garden stuff, all the give backs, all the sports, really being able to take kids to different gyms around the city and scrimmages and practices and all that. So yeah, it's all happening, you know, organically, pretty solid. Yeah, very thankful for that opportunity to be able to be in that position to have my head on straight.
Yeah.
Get through all of my shit that I had to get through to
Yeah.
get to the point where now I can give back.
Yeah.
So that's really where I'm at.
Well, big shout out to Hard Workers Union. You know what I'm saying?
If you want to join the union, you know, hit us up on Instagram right here, Hard Workers Union.
Thanks for letting me plug that. They can buy hoodie, shirt.
Hoodies,
sticker.
we got some patches made with that on the bucket hats, zip up and a hoodie and a crew neck actually.
It's all available online.
Yeah, I mean, we're working on the website right now.
DM.
You just got to holler at
via
us.
DM
Yeah,
for now.
word of mouth, you know.
But yeah, come support. All for good cause. I really do appreciate your work because you work with kids, you work with young, underrepresented communities, underprivileged students, and I think that's super important. From my take from just you explaining all that and kind of understanding what these kids go through. I'm assuming that you kind of had an upbringing where you might have not had the same, or you might have similar circumstances that made you inclined to serve these kids.
sure.
Is that the case?
For sure. I mean, the population that I serve now is like, you know, kind of on the border of like North Side, East Side, San Jose, and a lot of the students have it a lot harder than I had it growing up. But yeah, I mean, I come from single mom, you know, teenage mother, you know, broken home 2-3 times over, small family, you know, all that. But we made it out. Yeah, mom's a hustler. Mom, you know, held down multiple jobs at a time and never let me really like get too out of pocket. I was mostly into sports, and like at that time too, you know, I'm an 80s baby. Yeah. So when I was coming of age, we was outside
for sure,
you know, till the lights came on, and after that, you know, and so I didn't have a cell phone or anything like that until high school. And so like, thank God, you know, we was, you know, lighting fireworks and throwing water balloons and doing all that stuff. So, and I grew up on a block that had a lot of kids. So, and we were all kind of like from broken homes. So we just like really clicked up and was able to create a family that way. And honestly, sports, bro, like I had so many good coaches growing up that, like I said, were like father figures and just kind of like steered us in the right way and kept us busy, you know. If it wasn't sports, it was like skateboarding and, you know, chasing girls and all that. But never got too far out of pocket, but definitely had some hard lessons to learn. But,
well, that's what's up, man. I salute you for your work. Keep doing what you're doing, and I hope other people, you know, follow your movement or create other movements that are inspired by what you have done, because I think that's very needed. I think right now is like really crazy time period we're living in, because back in the days, distractions and things that kept you off of the path of whatever success or whatever you want to call it was like gangs, or like it was girls, or it was you know what I'm saying, it was just like these tangible things that were in front of us. Now it's like social media is everywhere you go, and kids are getting pulled in from multiple directions. And if they're already in an underprivileged situation, it's kind of like enhancing the distraction and enhancing the obstacles. So I definitely appreciate when I see people from our generation, when I say our generation, anyone that's an adult right now until their late 30s or something, like doing stuff for the
25,
kids.
35.
Yeah, it's just because like, you know, there's always discussions about like, oh, these kids, like this generation, what's up with this generation? I'm like, bro, y'all raised this generation. Like y'all have to start doing some accountability. Like we're all adults now, you know, like for the longest time I was the naive one, or I was the one getting into fights or getting into trouble growing up. And now that I'm older, you know, I'm 28, but I turn 29 next week. That's right. Hey. And then, you know, I've done some self-reflection where it's like, you know, what has my behavior enabled? You know, what have I done to like enable certain things that maybe I don't agree with now? And I think if we all, as adults in this generation, can like reflect on what we're doing, we might be able to save some time to help serve the new generation. And that's why I really appreciate people doing work now at the age we're at, is because it matters more than it ever did. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's so important, whether it's through doing stuff you're doing when you're taking the time out of your day, your job, to serve the kids in a kinesthetic, hands-on experience, or if it's by demonstration, meaning like you're leading by example, like you're doing things to build things for positive outcomes, and then the youth see it and they get inspired by it, and then they want to be a part of it in some way. Like I think there's multiple ways to serve the next generation, you know what I'm saying? I think there needs to be more conversation about that and shit. And that's why I fuck with what you do, bro. That's
I
what
appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that really affected also like my art and everything too, and like how I present myself, because like when I first started working with youth, I avoided having like online interactions with my students and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all on social media, they're all on social media.
Yeah.
It ain't hard. Like when we're around and we go to field trips and we go to different places, or we have guests come on campus, they'll shout me out, be like, oh, that's Al, oh, that's your teacher, whatever. And like they'd be like, why do you know so many people, or why is this, why is that? And then I was kind of like wasn't really on, like my first year at the middle school, I taught like a creative writing, like a hip-hop class. But I still separated like my personal ThatFool art from that. And then as the years went on, I would like, I guess some students found me online or whatever, and then I had to go back, and there's a couple of music videos that I try to delete and try to get off the internet. But I mean, for better or worse, it's all part of the process, and like we learn and we grow from that stuff. But now I feel like I'm in a space that's hella authentic, where like I can be proud of the work that I put out, and be proud of the work that I 9 to 5 and like doing during the day. And then also they affect each other. So it's like I have stories in my music that is directly inspired from like my counseling and stuff that I do with the students. And vice versa, like things that I learn in the entertainment world, how to entertain a room, how to have connections with people. I bring that into the classroom and into those experiences too. So it's just like that modern, it's just like the time that we're in right now. If you just look online, on like TikTok or whatever, there's so many young teachers now, and like the staff at the school that I work at is hella young, and so there's just a whole new dynamic of how to relate with the students. And like
it's very different.
Some of it is probably not the best, like and we're still learning, but thank God, I work at an alternative, like a real small school, and we have a lot of freedom to kind of figure things out and do things on our own, and write our own curriculums, and kind of like do a lot of field trips, a lot of different stuff that a lot of public schools and other schools don't get to do. So it's a blessing. Yeah, I'm really trying to soak it in and just learn as much as I can, so that I can keep scaling up and expanding into new networks, new demographics, and all that. So.
Multiple responses. First and foremost, hip hop's so beautiful, right?
Hip hop, that's what started it all.
You get to see people like evolve and grow. It's like when you listen to Nas in the '90s, you listen to Nas's album recently. Like you could hear the tonality and the growth in his words and the things he's talking about. I mean, that's kind of what I take away from what you just said, right? Like you said, I had these old music videos and this and that. But even now that you've gone to a place where you've embraced your authenticity and you've like leaned into it more, as opposed to like blocking it out. And it's interesting because I relate with that so much, because I used to be EMLN, right, all the time, EMLN, doing fucking vlogs in Foxdale with Cuddy Banks and fucking doing interviews with
R.I.P.
Cuddy Banks. R.I.P. But you know what I'm saying, like just being in certain environments that I used to work in sales. I used to be in professional rooms and corporate offices, and like I never really brought that to work, right? And I was always fearful of like getting misconstrued of my identity, like you're not professional, you're not capable of this work because you're a knucklehead or some shit. And I feel like now I've gone to a point where it's like I've embraced what I went through in my life, I've embraced what I've dealt with growing up, but I've just let that help me become more of a redefined version of myself. And instead of like, being like conscious and worried about how people view it, and more so like, look what I am now because of what I went through. I'm that much more intelligent, more smart, more confident in what I'm doing because I went through all this shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's hella important to be aware of that too, because I think us as growing up in San Jose and being where we were at in the Silicon Valley is a world renowned place where people from all over the world travel here to do business here. We are in a very particular, special demographic of like,
Yeah.
bro, like I attribute a lot of my work after high school. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't do the traditional like college route, but like I worked I worked for like a lot of security companies where I was doing like overnights and all types of stuff at the biggest corporations in the world, bro. Like I was like a chef at Google, and I did security at Apple, at Adobe, at some other tech companies, and like being to see behind the curtain. Like at Apple, they literally have black curtains all around their campus that you're not allowed to go behind.
Oh shit.
So
bro.
like they'll be like working on prototypes. They'll be working on like the Apple car or like shit that ain't even out yet.
Yeah.
And then when they go home at night, they'll put a black curtain around the whole thing.
Wow.
And it's like the world don't get to see that. But us as kids coming out of, you know, out of the Silicon Valley, just San Jose, you know, trenches and shit, being in these spaces, getting to peek behind the curtain, seeing how these operations are ran. And then when Levi Stadium opened, I worked there for like the first 2 years. I was on the field on the first Thanksgiving game when Richard Sherman and them was eating turkey legs on the field. I was on the field for that. I was on I used to, bro.
You talking about when they played the Broncos?
Nah.
The Super Bowl?
Nah.
Wait, no, that was Panthers and Broncos.
I don't know what you talking about.
2016.
No, when the Seahawks on Thanksgiving beat the Niners, it was like Kaepernick and all them. And so like those first couple of years at Levi Stadium, it was so chaotic and unorganized. I don't know if you remember, but they were in a rush to like open the stadium before that season started.
Oh yeah.
And the field was messed up. Like everything was like half done. And our as security, we had a locker room that was in the tunnel in between the visitors' locker room and the Niners cheerleaders' locker room. And so I would pop out to go to the bathroom, and I remember like Marshawn Lynch putting on his helmet right there, like Drew Brees, the Eagles, like all types of like, bro, like I got in the elevator and like Troy Aikman was in the elevator. And I'm just like, what? Like this is crazy. So like seeing behind the curtain and seeing how these big ass world famous billion-dollar corporate institutions are ran really is a unique experience for us as street kids, as hip hop, as facts. Entertainers, and then applying that to like what we do is it I feel like it makes us like hella dangerous and
you're hella on point with that shit. It's because like there's like in LA, right? People grow up in LA, but time to time they might see someone film a movie. And they're just like, damn, like that could be us type shit. But I
people
see
in other countries, they're like, bro, that's the movies. Like they don't know how to.
This is our version of it, right? We get to see like, you know, the Apples and the Teslas and the shit out here in the world. And honestly, bro, Silicon Valley has so much history. Like I'm the type of weirdo where I'll start looking at like old articles and old shit about San Jose back in like the 70s or the 60s and what made it so different. But, you know, bro, this is just a fact I learned, but it's like the guy at Stanford that made Huey Packard or some shit like that. Stanford encouraged all the students to like build corporations, build companies, but like, or work for a big company. But I think one of the professors at Stanford was like encouraging people to make companies and be in this region. And it was like it was kind of like a movement where like everyone started pursuing startups, but they stayed within this area for whatever reason.
And to speak on that, like what we were just saying about having the privilege to be here and be in these rooms, just 2 weeks ago, this is just like a random little side thing that you said because of Stanford, but 2 weeks ago, I was sitting with some elders and one of them suggested to the other one, hey, you should invite Alex to that think tank that you go to. And they start telling me about it, and it's I'm not gonna say their names or anything, but it's like a long time professor at Stanford who is retired, who has an office there, who holds literal think tanks with people, and they're like talking about bringing me in. They're like, he's got a good whatever. Like you should be able to get in those rooms, and it's just like, bro, people don't have those opportunities. That's crazy, you know. And I don't know what I'm doing there, but it's just maybe for feedback, maybe there's just a reflection.
You gotta take advantage of them rooms, though, man.
Crazy,
you get in them
bro.
rooms, you squeeze in there. You gotta start taking notes.
And one more thing about the Levi Stadium. And, you know, I'll say it now because it's been so many years, and having the little, you know, the Bay Area wiggle and the hustle and having to have multiple incomes and all that, it got to a point where is when Uber started popping off too.
Yeah.
Right. So and the stuff at Levi's was so unorganized that you could go there, I could go there, clock in,
Yeah.
and then go back to my car,
Yeah.
and clock in on Uber,
Yeah.
and then drive people to the game that I'm supposed to be working at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You gotta try to,
You
I
gotta
definitely
finesse,
did
man.
that for a few games,
Hey,
and then the Super Bowl came, and I actually opted out of working the Super Bowl just because like I was like, bro, that's doing way too much.
Yeah.
Like that would be a cool opportunity, but
Yeah.
at that time too, I was still hella into like
Yeah.
watching football, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
bro, I'm just gonna watch the game. Like I'm not really trying to do all that, but. Yeah, legendary, bro. Like Frank Gore, Patrick Willis.
Hey,
Like,
man. Niners
on.
franchise. We need a Super Bowl, man, but
Young
we got
Cap.
a lot of legendary shit.
they're gonna win one in the
We
next
still need
couple
a couple
years.
minutes, Blanco. Or we good? All right, cool.
I think they're gonna win one in a couple years.
It's inevitable, bro.
Yeah, the script got leaked though. I think the Bills are gonna win it this year.
we said the
That's what they've been
script got
saying.
leaked.
Yeah, that's
Josh Allen, man.
I don't even know. I don't even really keep up with it too much anymore. I keep up with the Niners, like in the NBA too. Like I watch
Yeah.
most of the Warriors games, but I can't really get with like that should be like sucking your time and energy.
It
Like you be
does.
watching, you're gonna spend a couple days a week doing nothing but consuming the television. It's like I don't even have a TV. Like if I want to watch a game, I either
Yeah.
got to stream it or I got to go to my mom's house and watch. Like that's like
Yeah.
honestly, if it wasn't for my mom's love of sports, I would probably not even be like hella
Yeah.
into it anymore
Yeah.
like that. But that's something that we have definitely been able to bond over.
Yeah.
Like as I've gotten older too,
Yeah.
it's like I'm gonna go to mom's house on Sundays, watch all the games.
Yeah.
There's a big Warriors game. Let's go do
Yep.
dinner. Let's watch it. Like,
Yeah.
I think that is a something that sports would do for sure. It's
Yeah,
like
that's the only thing I can speak
bring
on.
and keep families
Yeah.
together. It also tear families apart though.
Yeah, you got one Raider.
I
fan,
got a
one Niner fan.
picture. I got a picture when I was like 1 year old that somebody in my family, I don't remember who, it might have been just like family friend because
Yeah.
like my mom had me when she was so young that
Yeah.
I was kind of raised by like all her homies and
Yeah.
just like the friends and
Yeah.
like, you know. But I have a picture and my whole family is like Niner fan, like
Yeah.
diehard. And I remember telling some of Alden Smith actually
Yeah.
when he was on the team.
Yeah.
I remember telling him, I'm like, bro, like it don't even mean the same to y'all as it does to us as fans.
Yeah.
Like you guys are from Missouri and,
Yeah.
Texas
You're
and
coming to
Florida.
work.
You're coming to work. You're
Yeah.
getting paid millions of dollars.
Yeah.
My family, like we're not religious. Like this is
Yeah.
our Sunday get down.
Yeah.
Like, this is our church. Like
Yeah.
I know more about the Niners than you will ever know, and
Yeah.
you're a player.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it shouldn't be like that. Like
Yeah.
they, whatever. Anyways, but what was I saying right before that?
You were just talking about how it brings people to your family together. in
Oh,
sports.
I have a picture of myself as a 1 year old, all in Raiders, like
Oh, shit.
a Raiders beanie, a Raiders sweater, the Nike Cortezes, and
Yeah.
everything. Like as a
Yeah.
1 year old, and that shit. I was almost gonna use it for like an album cover or something,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to catch hella heat. I'm like,
You're
everybody
like,
knows
"Hey,
I'm a
bro, I got
Niner
you a
fan,
Niner fan."
but I fuck with the Raiders though.
Yeah.
For sure. There was one point years back where when Charles Woodson was on the Raiders, who was like my favorite player growing up. I
Yeah.
wore number 24, cornerback, all that. Even in baseball,
Yeah.
24, Ken Griffey Jr. That was my
Facts.
shit. But when he was on the team, my mom was working for like a some company that did like the
Yeah.
communications from
Yeah.
the field to the headsets and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they would get free tickets.
Mm.
And I remember going to I went to more Raiders games than Niners
Oh,
games.
you get
And
the
they were
fun.
hella fun too.
Yeah.
We were like right by the black hole.
NFL
And
games, man.
yeah, so I was, I love that shit. There was a game where Metallica came and did like a free concert in the parking lot.
Damn.
Yeah.
In Oakland.
Yeah, the playoffs. I think it was against the Jets.
That's
It was like legendary, bro. They
Yeah.
pulled up and anybody out there, Raiders fans or
Yeah.
Bay Area historians, you'll
Yeah.
know this one. There might be videos. They pulled up in a 18-wheeler that was like, I don't remember. I don't think it said Metallica or anything. It was just
Yeah.
like a random 18-wheeler, and all of a sudden dropped the side, and it was a whole fucking rock concert. Metallica's like legendary
Yeah,
Bay
yeah.
Area shit.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find that clip and put it in. That's what's
Yeah,
up, bro.
that was before camera phones, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree. Sports is very is a good form of bondage for families. You know what I'm saying? It does bring people together, and as you said, it also breaks people apart. But I do see a lot of like I don't like. It's not like how I used to when I used to spend hella time watching
Yeah,
sports. I
fantasy
love it.
football, all
Don't
this
get me
shit,
wrong, I
yeah.
love it, but I just don't got the time like how I used
I was
to.
trying to build my own
Yeah.
franchise.
You know what I'm saying? Trying to build my own franchise.
I have a homie, shout out, RJ, homie from, West of Sea and all my childhood. We could get into that, all the dope stories from back in the day. But I remember he used to say, we would get in fights like with our friends and shit. Who's the best running back? Who's this? Who's that? And ThatFool was the first one that I remember saying, they don't pay me.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
And that always stuck with me. And he's like, fuck y'all. Like, they ain't paying me. I'm not about to fucking fight y'all over this shit. I'll whoop your ass first before,
my God,
And ThatFool, like, that shit just stuck with me. And then I'll be telling that to other people too. They be fighting. And I'm like, bro, they don't pay you. What are you tripping about?
They got a no residual income check from this shit.
They should, though.
Yeah, they should.
I think the Packers do something like that.
Well, I think because I think the taxes from Wisconsin pay for.
Or they have a dope.
'Cause I think
It's
the
either
city
Packers or
owns-
the Bears or something.
The city or the state owns the Green Bay Packers franchise.
But I think it's
So the
like
tax dollars funds it.
stock. It's like where
I
like
believe it,
hella
though.
fans have percentage ownership in the Packers.
I believe
some
it.
shit.
Somebody
like that.
told me the tax thing, so I figured that would make sense. So
And that stadium, what's it called? Like the Lambeau Field, right?
yeah,
That shit is in like a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's kind of dope. Like when they
Yeah,
do
the whole-
flyovers,
it's a
it's just
football
like
town.
in a straight up.
it's hella different.
Yeah.
Well, shit, man.
Sports.
Yeah, we can go in. I think one of the questions I wanted to ask you earlier is like, why is music so important to you? Because it seems like, no matter what is in your path, or work, family, the youth, like you always make time for music.
Yeah.
Like, why is
man.
this so important to you?
I guess I didn't know it like coming up or whatever, but now that you say that and I've had like time to reflect on it all, just like growing up, I don't think I had like a musical household. Like I didn't have like any relatives that played sport or played instruments or anything, but grandpa had a big record collection, and so that was always going, and like hella obscure like kind of world music, all types of shit. And then I had like my godparents, the Nahars on the east side, where I would go like every weekend, and that exposed me to a lot of like mariachis and like just like classic kind of Mexican music and all types of other music genres, and like they were big on James Brown.
Yeah.
And like James Brown was one of the like godfather of funk, godfather of soul that like leaked into hip hop. And I think just being exposed to cats like James Brown or like George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic, cats who branched off, who ended up like creating the family tree that hip hop came from. Being exposed to that as a kid just opened the door to like just not being stuck in like, oh, this is what I like. Because I had like my mom, like I said, my mom was young, and they were exposing me to like at the time like all the grunge shit like Nirvana and like all the Sublime and like those bands were popping. But also at the same time it was Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Tupac, Bone Thugs. Like that's like, if I would include those three with Nirvana and Sublime and James Brown as like my like that's kind of what makes ThatFool Al as like a music head. And then when I was in middle school, I had a couple homies who would do like battles of the bands stuff, and they were playing like live instruments, like a dope band, Solid Chrome, shout out. They were called Solid Chrome. They would make like lowrider bike, like chrome bikes and shit, and like that shit was so dope to me. And then in high school, more cats started when I was 8th grade. I used to go to the high school football games, and there was fools who would be at the games from different schools that would just be ciphering, battle rapping the whole football game, like under the bleachers or by the snack shack and shit. And I was like, I would watch the game, but then I was so like, that shit was so dope to me. There was just a crowd of people, and they'd be roasting each other and like, just rhyming and shit off the top. Like that was so dope. And then when I got to high school, there was a couple older cats who would do the same shit, like just freestyle and rap at lunch, and it became a big thing. Like 8 Mile was like around that time, and everybody wanted to be Eminem and shit, and like it was just like it was dope. And then shout out, Ziggy, my boy Zig, came from Chicago, and his dad was a rapper, and he came as like he was the dopest like 10, 11, 12-year-old rapper that I ever knew, that I ever seen. And that fool had already been in the studio by the time he was like 12, 13 years old. And that was the homie. And so he kind of inspired all of us to start rapping.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, RJ, my boy, he started rapping with the Solid Chrome. It was like a live band, and they would do Battle of the Bands, and they would play at lunch in the quad, and they were doing covers of like Rage Against the Machine and like shit like that. And then that shit just like lit my fire. And then I started going to hella concerts. I used to go to the Catalyst in Santa Cruz like every weekend.
Yeah.
We seen like everybody that ever came through the Catalyst, all the underground shit. And then at one point, Snoop Dogg came to the Catalyst with like Corrupt and everybody.
Yeah.
And that shit was so dope. We treated that like prom. Like we bought we got like hotels and shit in Santa Cruz after the show.
Yeah.
That fool had like big ass weed plants on stage, and like it was just like a whole ass experience. And then going to hella concerts. Where else did I used to go? Yeah, the Catalyst. Then I ended up going to this is like towards the end of high school, started going to all the Rock the Bells and the paid dues festivals in SoCal. We would drive down to SoCal and buy the VIP pass and meet all the rappers and all that. And I just became like so infatuated with that shit. And my senior year, I actually had a injury in football. And I kind of like wrote it out. I was supposed to have surgery, and I just like wrote it out all year. And then I ended up having surgery after senior year, so like almost a year after my initial injury. And that shit put me down for a minute, and I was like in bed, and that was like the first time I like stopped and like slowed down. It was like sports year round for like 10 years. And then once I had that surgery, I was like in a wheelchair for a little bit and like all types of shit. And I had homies who were starting to rap and shit at that time more seriously. And I had a homie, Shiloh, rest in peace, who would come. I would be like sleeping all on pain meds and shit. And this fool would come knock on my window in my bedroom with a little beat machine and a microphone and shit. And he would be like, "Well, bro, look what I'm working on. Look what and it was like love for hip hop, like right then and there. And I started like tagging and like just, getting all into hip hop and shit. Like I'm gonna do this like for me now, like my way, my voice, my rhymes. And I had homies that were in the studio, and honestly, like I thought I could do it better than them. I thought I need to get up in there too. And so I started like inviting myself to sessions and getting in there. And I had that time to sit down and reflect and sit with myself. And the way I was able to like transmute it and express it and heal was through writing and through poetry and hip hop. And even before that, in like 5th and 6th grade, I had a teacher, an English teacher, who we did like a poetry workshop. And I got hella into it, and she like inspired me and was like telling me that I could get published and like this and that, and that stuck with me. And even before high school, me and a couple of the kids on the block would write rhymes. Like we would just write raps about people in class and shit, like about girls and like just little diss raps and stuff. I don't think we ever rapped them out loud. Yeah, it was just like a thing. Like come over. I was the fool who would like come over to my house. I'll play beats and give everybody papers and pens and shit. Like, all right, write your raps. And then we would like spit them to each other or whatever. But then fast forward years after, like I think I was 17 when I first got in the studio. I graduated. I was like, went through school kind of young. Like did that. Like I started kindergarten young or whatever. And then, so I graduated when I was 17, got in the studio shortly after that. And then just, bro, I had that itch, drive, bro. I had to go get it. And then luckily, bro, it was crazy. We had a homie whose dad had like some small tech startup in Campbell. Yeah. And part of their business was recording like transcripts for websites and shit. Interesting. So he had a mic and a whole like Pro Tools computer like setup. Yeah. And so they would be in there till like 5 every day in the office hours, and then we would go in and go overnight till like the next morning. Yeah. And that's that's when we started. Everybody started drinking, and partaking, and all that. And so we were up in the studio. It was basically this guy's office all night. Yeah. And then that all the early shit was whack. You look back on it, it's like that shit's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of whack. Yeah. But we put out a couple tapes, a couple demos or whatever, and then I ended up putting out like my first solo project after we had done like 3 group things with Ziggy and RJ and all the homies. West Sea Entertainment was like our little label. And we did hella shows, bro. It was sick because we had a bunch of homies who and all types of people, girls, whatever, who would go to different colleges, like all through California, even into Arizona, and bless them for their collegiate journeys or whatever. But they got to invite us as rappers and a band or whatever to go on our first little tours. And so we did all the way from Humboldt State to Chico. We went to Chico all the time because one of our producers ended up going to Chico. So we'd do these fat ass crazy parties in Chico, biggest shit I've ever done to this day. At that time in Chico, like a sea of people. Like crazy shit, crazy stories, bro. They have like a river, Labor Day river float, and like Jay Stalin and all them were there, and like they would be on a boat doing concerts and shit. Like shit, like you think back on it, like this is crazy. And we would go, to like Santa Barbara, San Diego State, hella shit in between. I'm forgetting all the way down. And then we had a homie that was in Arizona that went to ASU. Actually, it's crazy. He was there when James Harden was there. Oh, shit. And he would tell us that. Actually, what's crazy is the homie who went to San Diego State was there with Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, yeah.
And the other homie who went to ASU was there with James Harden.
Yeah.
And so at that time, they were like, the shit.
Yeah.
And so we would go and we would try to go to the games and stuff. We would go to the football games or whatever. Deshaun Jackson was at Cal. And we would go for, I was like, that was my shit. Cal, that Cal football team with Deshaun Jackson and Marshawn Lynch and Nate Longshore and Aaron Rodgers and all those and they had hella dope players.
Crazy
like, that was the probably the most I ever got into college football team. It was like that team. Yeah. But it was so dope, bro. Like doing all the touring and we did that for a few years. And then I put out a solo tape called Full Blown. And you can tell from my solo projects, like that first one, damn near the whole project was like about smoking weed. It was like it was called Full Blown, and I'm all looking all stoned and shit on the cover as a cartoon. It is kind of stupid. I actually tried to take that one off the internet after a while, just because there was only a few songs on there that I could really still stand behind as an adult. And then I had after a few years went by, I had a homie, like my best friend growing up, who passed away when I was like 23, I think. And that was the first person that was hella close to me that I lost, that I grew up with. This dude, I'm talking like everything, you know, like he was a couple years older than me, and so he would be giving me rides every day, like parties, the whole shit. He was hella, rest in peace, Stephen Fowler, Choo Fowler. If anyone played football around that time in San Jose, like you definitely knew that fool. He was raw. Little white boy running back that was like the sickest. Little McCaffrey.
Little
like
McCaffrey.
That. When McCaffrey came to the Niners, me and the homies were like, bro, that's Choo right there. But when he passed away, that wasn't the second time. My injury being the first time. But when he passed away, that was the second time where I really had to sit down. And kind of went through a dark, like, that was the first time I ever knew what like depression was or like shit like that. Like really sat with that for a minute. And then that is, each time I had those setbacks, that's kind of what opened the door. Like the injury was the door that opened up to music. And then Stephen passing away was the door that opened up to me to spirituality and getting into like healing, meditation, yoga, just all the mental health stuff. And then you can tell, because my next album was called Moment of Silence, and it wasn't like a moment of silence about a death kind of thing. It was more of like a moment of silence, like a meditation, like let me sit with it for a second. Sit with your emotions, sit with the shit that you're trying to process. And so that was that project. And then all in between, I was doing collabs and this and that. And then last year, I put out a project called Homeboy, which was like my third solo album, which was completely like pandemic inspired kind of thing. Like I wrote it all through the pandemic. And if you listen to the project, it's all has like skits and shit, like all related to what we were going through in the streets during the pandemic. Took a while to get out because I did a whole promo run with the dioramas and the little homies. Like we went all in for that one. It was pretty sick. I had the team around me that was helping me with set design and all of that. If you look up ThatFool Al Homeboy on YouTube or whatever, you'll see a bunch of cool videos. And right now, now I'm gonna get into my next album. It doesn't really have a title yet, but it's pretty much written, so I'm excited about that. And I think, yeah, the music will always kind of evolve to represent where I'm at mentally, spiritually, and yeah, I don't even know what the question was. Why is music the backbone of like what I do?
Yeah.
It's just that way to like let it out.
Yeah.
Like whatever you're going through and like whatever you're experiencing in life, if you don't express that shit, if you don't get it out, transmute it, turn it into something, whether it be a lot of fools work out, get their shit out in the weight room.
Yeah.
A lot, athletes. Some people pour it into their 9 to 5, which could be good, which also maybe could be unhealthy.
Yeah.
Everything could be unhealthy if you do it too much.
Yes,
anything,
sure.
honestly. So yeah, music's just my way of like getting it off and like expressing myself, and then having dope teachers and dope elders and dope people that I looked up to all along the way that were encouraging me and telling me, hey, you got a gift, you got a talent. Like, even just I remember the first time people would start hitting me up on the internet randomly, like MySpace days, like, oh, this song did this for me, or like these lyrics did this and that. And like, it wasn't a lot, it wasn't much. I didn't get hella streams or anything, but just those few interactions that I had with people let me know, like, damn, I'm onto something. And then these last few years, I can't really go around too long without somebody stopping me or saying, oh, Al, what's up, or yelling out the car or whatever, and like all of that shit. And I say it very humbly, and like, that shit is hella inspiring.
Yeah.
And like anybody out there, a musician or whatever, if you have somebody that you're watching and that you're following and that you fuck with, don't be afraid to show love.
Yeah.
And tell them that they're on the right path, and tell them that what they're doing is doing something for you, because that shit can go further than $1.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, two things. Well, first and foremost, I appreciate your appreciation for hip hop. Meaning, like, you've embraced hip hop in so many different facets in your life, and you've like learned from it. You've like got inspiration from it. You've created from it, and it speaks, because like, this is just a good illustration of like why the genre of hip hop in particular has raised a lot of people in our generation. You know what I'm saying? Especially for ones that come from situations where we might not have those influences or those role models. Like hip hop was that role model, you know what I'm saying? Or it was that blueprint to like start shit. So I definitely recognize
Freedom
that
of
with
speech.
just you and your stories that you were telling, because I relate with them, and I have my own versions of them as well through hip hop. So I think that's super dope, and it's really fascinating to hear that perspective of you as an artist, to get a better understanding. And the second thing I was gonna say was, I just lost my train of thought. It was right after the last thing you said.
Hip hop. Oh, showing love, going
There you
further
go.
than $1.
That right there is important too, because there's so many people in San Jose specifically, right? There's so many people in this like lane of creating now, you know what I'm saying? From business to artists, musicians, to, people creating canvas art, murals, like so many different things. And we can all feed off each other's energy, and I support, if I see someone doing some dope shit and then like it's very like dope, I'm gonna let them know, especially if it impacts me in a certain way where I'm like, damn, that's a great idea, or like, wow, I never even knew like it would be
And
rolled out like that.
we're in positions to help those people too.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, booking so many acts over these last few years, and even before that, that's what I was doing, hosting open mics and just trying to put people on all the time. If I win, we win. Like
easy.
if I'm in, we're all in.
Yeah.
Type shit. And what I was gonna say to that was that something that I do take pride in is for sure, you could ask anybody, you could never say I didn't do this. I'm always trying to get artists paid. Everything that I do,
that's true.
Everything that
I was advocated plenty of occasions.
everything that I collab with, as far as like my album artwork or merch or shows, flyers, anything that I can do, I'm never outsourcing that shit to the internet, to somebody I never met. Everything that I do, I'm trying to, even I don't have a lot to offer, even if it's, $50, $100, whatever, just that gesture of keeping the art alive. Bro, I'm always trying to support artists in one way or another, whether it's getting you a look or having you help me and we help each other, or putting you in this play that I'm not even a part of, but I just heard about it, or whatever it is. Like, I'm for sure, like, that's something that I'm trying to leave behind. Is like definitely putting your money where your mouth is. Really is what that's about.
It's mandatory. And meaning by that is like, I think all artists should be paid, right? I mean, that lane of like a career path is not easy, because you got to make work that's appealing, right, for people to want to spend money on you. And secondly, you got to perform. And third, like, you're investing your time, your energy into creating something out of nothing. Basically, the thoughts in your mind.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's all beautiful stuff. So I think our artists deserve to get paid.
Yeah.
Even if it's not monetary, like resources, something that shows the respect of like them participating. You know what I'm saying?
Straight up.
But yeah, no, that's big, man.
Before we get off the music thing, I did want to shout out Debug.
Yeah.
Because Debug does a million amazing things. I just rode my bike past there yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was saying how, like, bro, this is such a valuable resource to have in a community as a place like Debug, where it's like a hub for activism and innovation and problem solving and all the shit, right? From a small local scale to like worldwide shit that they do. But I'm shouting them out on the music tip because after I left the little Campbell, like West Side, my first music like taste, the first studio that I got in down in the downtown scene and the greater San Jose scene was in the basement of Debug.
Oh, word.
And I didn't know that they had like music shit going on there, but then I was able to connect with artists like, you know, Andrew Biggs, Cola, Malcolm, all those kind of cats. And they were running a studio out of the basement of Debug.
Wow.
And so
what year was this?
Like, I don't even know, 2010, 2009, maybe.
So real San Jose history then.
Yeah, and there's a video out there, speaking of old embarrassing shit, there is a video out there of me and Andrew Biggs and Cola. I don't even know what the song was called, but there's a music video of us in the basement at Debug. And just a random memory is we filmed a video that was hella dope in the basement with the real camera and da-da-da, whatever. And then somehow, that was before everything was so easy. Somehow the shit got deleted. And then we had to redo it, but we were already like burnt by the time we redid it. So it's like hella half-ass.
Yeah.
But that's just a random memory about that song.
And I was going to share the San Jose
But
history,
yeah, I
man.
just wanted it. I remember on the way over here, I was like, oh, I got to shout out Debug, at least for that.
Yeah.
Because they do so much dope shit. But just having a studio in their space was amazing.
That's huge, man. Community needs resources, and if the community can be the resource, that's even bigger. You know, we all we got. That's something we always say. And I think, I big shout out to Debug. I've gone to them for some resources in the past, and it seems like they're still doing amazing work for.
I haven't kept up with them lately, but I do have a few homies who work there or who have worked there off and on throughout the years, and they do so much dope stuff for the youth and kids that have incarcerated parents. Also, they're on the front lines for San Jose, Santa Clara County people who have been murdered by police. Yeah. And by sheriffs and by law enforcement. You know, they're the ones that give a voice to those families who have lost people from police violence. And as we found out, 2020, the whole, COVID and George Floyd and all the protest stuff, Debug was leading the cause in San Jose to give voices to people at all the rallies and the protests and everything. So yeah, that was huge. That was a big moment, and that's all what went into my last album, Homeboy, was all of those experiences. And Debug was central to that for sure.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate you, giving a spotlight to the community when it's needed. Big shout out to Debug. There's a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff that you're doing, bro, and a lot of into depth perspective that you have, because I feel like you're a very like you digest shit. You gotta like understand all angles of the situation.
Digestion. Yeah.
But I think it's important. That's how everything should be approached. You know, we live in a society where everything's just like I gotta get here done. I gotta go work. I gotta go do this. Everything is just all about money and all that. It's like, sometimes I have to step back out of it, because I'm like, all right, I'm doing all these great things, but like, what's the goal here? Like, what's the outcome? Like, once I get there, am I gonna be happy when I'm there? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I have to remind myself, am I gonna be happy at the end of the day?
It seems like within the entertainment space and like musicians and whatever, entrepreneurs, it seems like people are a little bit more aware of what you would traditionally call like meditative practices, as far as like reflecting and just looking into the future and reflecting on your past and sitting in the moment and not being in a rush all the time. It seems like with cats like J. Cole and the Kendricks and all of that, and within the last 5 to 10 years, they've planted a lot of seeds for people to like kind of slow down and think about shit a little bit more. As I've evolved from that to more of a like spiritual kind of conscious person, I've always been very aware and like particular about how I express those things, especially on songs, because you don't want to be like preachy. Yeah, you don't want to like yell at people and tell them to eat their vegetables and all that, like on the track. No one wants to listen to that. No, So, and there is dope rappers who do that. Yeah. I had a line on a song before where I wasn't taking a shot, but I said something about Immortal Technique, where I don't even remember what the line was, but I always used to say it at my concerts and shit. But I would say something about like how you don't want to be, or like people don't want to hear that shit all the time, you know? Even though it turns out Immortal Technique is super dope and like people do love that shit. But it was just my point of like, you never want to like just press the issue so hard. You got to just open the door, let people come as they will. And I think like as I had my awakening or my enlightenment or whatever, as I was going through after my homie passed away, once I got real health conscious and real like clear-minded and was able to like see things before they happen and type shit, I was always trying to like rush my family into that, or like rush my friends into that path also. And that's the worst thing you could do. That's the worst thing you could do, because you'll get so mad at your family and at your best friends because they don't see shit the way you see it. They don't see how unhealthy that food is. They don't see how unhealthy this habit is or whatever. And so a big thing for me was learning to just lead by example kind of thing. But the analogy is like being the buoy or like the lighthouse out there in the water. Like keep your light on, keep floating, keep it in people's vision, but you don't got to rush to them, because eventually, if it's months or years down the road, they're going to see you happy. They're going to see you healthy. And when they're ready, then they're going to come to you and ask how you did that. Or why are you always happy? Why are you this way? And then when they're curious, then you can flood them with all the shit. Because then they're going to be ready to receive it. But when someone's in their bad habit or in their darkness, the last thing they want is somebody to fucking tell them how wrong they are and shit. You know, that don't help nobody. So that was a hard one for me to learn.
I think that comes with growth though, right? Like, you know, you learn that people learn at their own pace. It's not a race, it's a marathon. People handle situations differently. I think you know, the most famous quote is like, you can lead a horse to the river, but you can't make him drink. So it's kind of like similar, right? But I think it's like, to your point though, it's always good to still lead by demonstration. When they're ready, they know who to call, right? So that's what's up, man. And I do think the actions you take and what you're doing music and as a teacher and as a community servant, I think the example is very there. You know what I'm saying? So just keep doing what you're doing, man. You know, people eventually, like, they look for ways to better themselves. I think the biggest thing I always try to push is like, for me, is like, I want to be the best version of myself. What does that look like? Workout wise, I want to have discipline. You know, I want to eat better. I want to build a business that not only is sustainable, but it creates jobs for people in my community. That's all I've really been preaching since I've been starting, and I want to keep that and staying committed to it. You know what I'm saying? And but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, basically, I do want to give you an opportunity, because we are getting close to conclusion here, for you to address the audience, for the people that made it this far into the podcast, to listen to your story and talk about all the stuff that you've gone through, and you know what I'm saying, just the art of vision of what you've, you know, created so far. What's something you want to tell the audience of, maybe someone's an artist, maybe someone is a community servant, maybe someone is a teacher as well who has a secondary passion that wants to make extra time? Like, what's some advice you could share to the people that made it this far?
Man, I don't even know, bro, to be honest.
Like
authenticity, man. Like just really try to just maintain that some type of that childhood joy or like innocence, or not even innocence, but just like the joy of doing shit for the first time, or the joy of discovering your favorite this, your favorite that. There was something that just reminded me when I was getting into like spirituality and whatever, there was a quote, something about like a puppy. Like, you look at how a puppy is always excited about shit and is always like ready. Like, you gotta look like that. You got to look at life like that.
Yeah.
Like don't worry about what could happen or what should
Yeah.
happen. You got to be that puppy that's
Yeah.
always excited to
Yeah.
do whatever the thing
Yeah.
is. Even the dishes.
Yeah.
Or the shit you don't want to do. Like you
Yeah.
still like puppies are always hyped up about shit.
True.
Like that's a big one. I learn a lot. I personally learned a lot from nature. So when I got into like gardening and the urban agriculture stuff, bro, I learned so much about our own community and about society just from the garden and spending time in nature. Take your shoes off, get connected to the earth. That will teach you everything you need to know. Straight up, just about diversity and about companionship and about the seasons and about the elements and about history and about just all of it, bro, because there's a like cause and effect.
Yeah.
Just like you do this, this happens. You don't do this, that don't happen. So all that, and then nature. There was a quote I heard the other day that was pretty dope. It was like a Chinese proverb, I think, and they're saying like the person who blames everybody has a long way to go. The person who blames themselves is halfway there.
Yeah.
The person who doesn't blame anybody has arrived. And that kind of stuck with me because it's like everybody always wants to be the victim.
Yeah.
All these people are always like, oh, they did this, or they didn't let me in.
Yeah.
They didn't let me rock. They ain't listening to me.
Yeah.
They can't, da-da-da-da. Like, stop being a victim.
Yeah.
You know, like if you can, that's a big one right there.
Yeah.
Those are my three.
Yeah.
Be a puppy,
Yep.
learn from nature, and stop victimizing yourself. And I think there was four. The first one was just
4.
authenticity.
Authenticity.
Yeah,
was definitely
just
4.
don't
But those
be
are all
afraid.
solid.
Yeah, don't be afraid
Very
to be
solid,
yourself,
'cause
bro.
I
No
think
fear.
those are
Fear don't live here.
those are 4 different promo reels right there, and just in the ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you hit it really well, man. I don't even want to add anything else to that shit. That's how good it was.
Yeah.
But purity, I think that's
Purity.
I think I'm saying that word weird.
Yeah,
But
pure.
it's pure is what I want to say.
That's hella funny because we had a
But I say
song.
purity, I'm
I
like,
think
purity.
the homies did a song called Pure before, and we always would laugh. Like we would pure.
Like
Like
this
the way the
word,
homie said it
yeah.
on the hook was like
Pure. Yeah.
purity. Like that's like a
Yeah.
weird word.
But
pure.
it's the only way I can describe what you mean by the whole puppy thing, because it's like, I used to work at the mall and shit. I used to be hella excited about fucking greeting people, and to some people they were like, "Fuck, man, I gotta go talk to people, strangers." Like I don't want to do that, but I would just find excitement, in that
find
shit.
joy in the little
Yeah.
day-to-day things, or you're gonna end up hating your life.
Yeah, bro.
Like you gotta shout out homeboy Harv.
Yeah.
My big homie Harv, he just moved to LA actually, but San Jose legend,
Yeah.
He has a thing where he says every morning when he wakes up, he high fives himself.
That's hard.
I never seen it, but I could just
Yeah.
picture him waking up like, hey,
Hi, bro.
but
What's
like
up?
just be happy to just
Yeah.
wake up and
Yeah.
breathe, bro. You know
Yeah.
how it feels when you're sick and you're congested and you can't breathe,
Yeah.
and you're like, God damn, I would do anything to be able to breathe out of my nose right now.
Yeah.
But we take that shit for granted every day.
Yeah.
Like that's just an example. Like the little things
Yeah.
matter, bro, because they're all those little habits and those little parts of your day that is
Yeah.
so easy to overlook. That's what makes up the 80-90% of your being.
Yeah.
It's only those random big things that happen every once in a while
Yeah.
that you want to define yourself off of. That ain't it. Define yourself off of how you wake up. How do you feel when you go to sleep? What relationship do you have with the creator? How honest are you with yourself?
Yeah.
You know, like that type of stuff is really what makes up how you're gonna be viewed and perceived and how you're gonna impact, the community. So yeah, take that time to really get right with yourself so that you can serve others. That's kind of what I've been on.
And be grateful, motherfucker.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, that's to sum it
gratitude.
up. Be grateful. Gratitude.
Yes,
Gratitude
yes.
dictate altitude. I think it's attitude, but
Gratitude. There was a couple things I used to always tell the homies that were kind of like asking for advice and shit. I forget the third one, but it was gratitude, service. I forget the third one, but gratitude is like will get you so far.
Yeah.
And then service, like do shit for people.
Yeah.
Like go out and like volunteer for stuff. Like
Yeah.
put yourself in positions to be of service. There's been so many people that have had a hand in getting you to where you're at. The least you could do is turn around and
Serve.
get somebody up.
Get the alley-oop, man.
Yeah.
Get the assist.
Go to oop.
And there's probably one more in there. If you know what it is, drop it on the comments on the YouTube. And also, if you made it this far, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel on Spotify, on iTunes, the EMLN Podcast, hosted by your boy BQ. Al, thank you so much for being
Big
a part.
love, big love.
This
And
was
follow
long
that
overdue.
fool Al. Follow that fool
Yeah,
Al.
follow that fool Al. Follow Heart Workers Union.
Yeah.
And follow Culture Night Market because
Yes,
who knows? You
sir.
might see Al there.
Yeah, we got a bunch of events coming up to end the summer. By the time this comes out, I'm gonna have another new song called Offerings with the music video that's gonna be dropping.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm excited to get back into the music a little bit and
Yes, sir.
come with the next phase.
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
man. Continue doing great things, man. Thank you so much for doing the podcast. It ain't exclusive. It ain't an EMLN exclusive. It's your boy BQ, and we out.
Blah.
Peace. Yes, sir. That was